So hello everyone and welcome to the Clean Technology Investor Workshop. So we're just going to wait for 4 more minutes for more people to join in. We'll start at 5:05. Great to see that our clean technology champion is already here with us, Yemi Keri. It's great to have you with us. Hello David, hello Phillips. Great to have you with us this evening. Hello Chris. Great to have you with us.
Hi, everyone.
So we're just going to wait 1 more minute before we officially start. But thank you everyone for making it out this evening to join us. And thank you for joining earlier also. So hello everyone and good evening. A warm welcome to the Clean Technology Investor Workshop. So the Clean Technology Workshop is brought to you by the African Business Engine Network in partnership with the ADIBNet and the EU. So thank you everyone for making it early and we'll be beginning now. So June, kindly move to the next slide. So we just want to do a quick poll to see where members of the room are connecting in from today. So the poll is grouped according to each region. So just highlight which region you're calling in from today. So me, I'm calling in from West Africa, Nigeria to be precise. So just select where you're calling in from, just so we can know where you are, who you are. Thank you for joining us as well. All right, so I think we've all been able to answer the poll now. So June, kindly display the results of the poll and we can proceed. I see we have majority of our attendees today calling in from Western and Southern Africa with a little bit from East Africa. Hopefully, more people from North, Central, and diaspora will join us as the meeting progresses. So, Jim, kindly move on to the next slide. So we're going to start with an overview of clean technology. This was supposed to be done by Fadila Chumba, but due to some reasons, she'll be unable to join us this evening. So first of all, my name is Jeffrey Akemo, and I'm in charge of stakeholder engagement for the African Business Angel Network. So nice to meet you all. During the next slide. So we're going to look at the overview for clean technology in 3 segments. We're going to look at the global perspective. I'm going to bring it down to Africa. And I'm going to give you an in-country example in Africa. So the global clean technology market size has been growing over the years from 28.39 billion in 2020 to an estimate of 42.37 billion by 2026. And also the amount of clean technology firms have doubled over the past decade. So at first we had less than 13,000 clean technology firms in the world as global. And now we're estimated to have reached 44,595 clean technology firms on the continent. These are firms that are actively battling the climate crisis, actively fighting climate change, actively trying to make energy cheaper for everyone on the planet. So clean technology investment has increased from just over 3% in 2017 up to 16.88 in 2022. So this can show that the size of the market, right? That there's an appetite for clean technology businesses, that there's an appetite for clean technology startups. And these startups are actually solving real life solutions and real life problems. So June, can you take it to the next slide so we'll bring it down to Africa? So in terms of Africa, right, venture funding in Africa has buckled over the past couple of years. So clean technology in particular have grown over 18% in terms of the total equity funded to a percentage of 863 million in 2022, an increase of 347% from the previous year. And we have leading firms in clean technology in Africa. We have the likes of Sonking. So Sonking was able to raise 70 million in equity investment and an extension of its Series D round, making it the largest provider of solar energy products for off-the-grid homes in Africa. Well, I don't know where you are calling from today precisely, but in Nigeria, Sonking is one of the leading brands in terms of solar home systems. We have is in terms of solar home systems for both home appliances, little offices, and small businesses. So these clean technology startups are able to provide energy and lighting to vital businesses, to vital producers that need this in their day-to-day production. So we're seeing more clean technology startups, more entry in the C&I sector. We're seeing startups like Enkai in Kenya doing energy transition to clean technology for the consumer and industrial sector. They're doing hospital projects, they're doing banks, they're doing industries and all that. So June, can you take us to the next slide? So in terms of Africa, right, clean technology startups in Africa operate in a particularly difficult environment. That drives up production costs and undermine competitiveness. From founders, corporates, investors, Africa's climate tech stakeholders must take action together to utilize this opportunity to not only alleviate climate mitigation across Africa, but also improve the livelihood of every African. So in general, the cost of power on the continent has been rising. The cost of on-the-grid power has been rising on the continent. That is where the key sector where clean technology startups play in. So what do you need power for? Power is central to every other production. You need power to produce clothes, you need power to produce food, you need power to store food you produce. So power is both in production, preservation, and even in consumption. So this shows how key and vital energy transition and energy space is for the continent. So there are 3 key challenges facing Africa's climate tech startups. We have the infrastructure, we have the regulation, and we have the access. So these are the issues basically facing climate tech startups on the continent. And these are the issues we're hoping to start combating by these kind of sessions, by driving knowledge sharing into this particular sector. So only 60% of Africans have access to electricity. And we now have a lot of startups willing to solve this problem. So June, take us to the next slide, please. So in terms of our in-country example, we're going to use Nigeria as an in-country example, right? So Nigeria has over 40 hubs in only Lagos State. Nigeria has the most advanced clean tech ecosystem with more active tech hubs and well-established collaboration and investment networks. And Nigeria is one of the biggest markets for clean technology in Africa, with a population of over 200 million people. So a lot of people are looking at how to get sustainable power. Me, for one, I'm looking for how to get sustainable power in Nigeria. So I currently employ a solar solution in my own home space, which I'm currently using now, actually, to provide energy for both me and members of my household. So in terms of market, there's a big market for clean technology businesses in Africa. And also, we have to look at it from the policy and the investment received. So Brighter Intelligence data shows that between 2014 and Q1 2022, Nigeria climate tech startups attracted 450 million raised across 65 deals. Nigeria has allocated 85 million USD out of the 250 million endorsed in its investment plan under the Clean Technology Fund by the African Development Bank. So this just shows that, okay, in terms of clean technology startups on the continent, Nigeria is one of the leading voices, one of the leading countries in terms of clean technology startups. And this is mainly driven by its early adoption of solar and solar home systems, its early adoption in terms of policy towards the adoption of clean energy products. So that's where you now see the product activities like the Global Climate Tech Program, GCIP initiative, or the United Nations Industrial Development Organization that launched an initiative to produce climate tech and climate tech innovations. And in Nigeria, you can also see the rise of open innovation hubs that aim to accelerate clean technology startups. In Nigeria, we have the Clean Technology Hub led by the former man, which is doing great work for clean tech startups on the continent and in Nigeria in particular. So John, take us to the next slide. So for a startup example producing clean technology in Nigeria, we have Lumos. So Lumos is a clean technology startup founded in 2014 by David and Ron. So the clean technology startup Lumos has successfully raised over 50 million USD, and they have three key products. That's the Lumos Echo, the Lumos Prime, and the solar home panels and battery. So this just shows the impact of the market, how wide the market is. They've been able to raise $150 million. As of early 2002, Lumos has over 100,000 customers in Nigeria and 30,000 customers in Cote d'Ivoire. They have found benefits in diversifying products portfolios beyond MMOs through complementary channels. So there is this model that is currently used in clean technology startups, especially in solar home systems, where you pay as you go, and over a certain amount of time, at the end of the day, you own that product, right? So the way this model is set up is that within the space of usually 2 years, that the end user will be able to pay for the product and now own it at the end of it. So June, take us to the next slide. Yes, at this point, we will now welcome our clean technology champion, Yemi Keri, to the stage. So Yemi Keri is one of the leading voices in technology in Nigeria and Africa at large, and she's the co-founder of Rising Tide Africa, one of our valued member nations. Yemi Keri, it's nice to have you with us this evening. Over to you, man.
So I know it's sort of West African centric right now. I'm from Nigeria, free from Nigeria, talking about Nigeria. I think that it is important that we understand what is going on in the other parts of the continent when it comes to clean technology, so that we can collectively, invest and de-risk ourselves. I know that we've spoken about clean technology in terms of renewable. That was the example that Jeffrey made. But, it is important to know that the clean technology encompasses a broader range of industries and sectors beyond energy. Although energy is a significant focus on clean technology, there are other sectors that clean technology covers. I'm sure you're well aware that it includes water, water waste treatments, waste to wealth, sustainable agriculture and forestry, recycling and waste management, transportation, which I will give you a case study on today, and of course, green building construction and design. I think we have a whole building. One of the banks, Sterling Bank, did a solar wrap of its entire, I think it's 17th floor tower building in Marina in Lagos here. It's a sight to behold. I went to visit, and you would not imagine how, I mean, you will not understand if you're in there that it's being powered by solar. All the ACs are working, everything is working, and even the MD says he has excess energy available. So he's looking at how he's going to provide some energy to the communities around him. And so it is also very important that we understand that we are doing clean technology, and its aim really is to reduce the environmental impact on humanity, across various industry. And so that, but we need to be able to create innovative ways to achieve the same goals with fewer negative consequences for the planet. So that's my intro. I think, can you go to the next slide? Okay. So I'd like us to share across I see it's Northwest and Eastern Africa that's on the line, and I would like to understand really from both East and Southern Africa your experiences, so that we can take this as a knowledge base, your experiences in terms of what you see as the opportunities there. I've sort of outlined some here, but what are the opportunities that you see when we say there's an ability to scale quickly and efficiently? Is that the same in Nairobi? Is that the same in South Africa? When we say there's increased funding available, we see the AFDB and the UNIDO initiatives. Is that the same that is going on within your own area? I'd like people to share. So please, either show of hands in chat room or something, so that we can learn more about. I don't know, Chris. I see you're from the Kenya. Carol, please, can you share with us, what you think the opportunities are really within the clean energy sector within your region of the continent? Hi, Chris.
Hi, hi, Yemi.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
Hi. If you know Kenya, it's quite a diverse. They have pretty much every power supply. So they have everything from wind to solar to geothermal, to diesel and coal and you name it. So yeah, they pretty much have every. It's one of the only countries that I know of that has literally every potential power source, except for nuclear. But where I mean, there's still a lot of potential. I think in I mean, there are a lot of rooftop solar, and sort of rural, setting up solar in rural areas. That still seems to be growing fairly quickly, and yeah, I mean, yeah, storage. I feel like that's going to be the next big game changer, is when there's cheaper and more reliable storage. That's going to be a big thing.
When you say storage, is it in terms of what?
batteries, you know.
Oh,
just
okay.
storing-
Okay.
Yeah, just storing, you know, generating renewable power, but then storing it for, you know, for off peak, or, you know, just
Wow.
smoothing out the cycles.
Okay. Because when you talk about that in the context of West Africa, we've had a lot of issues around energy, such that the cost of production for a lot of industries is very high. We have to buy generators, we have to fuel the generators, the cost of fuel is high, and the capital investments on solars, because of the demand, is also pretty high. So, but then the startups are beginning to see opportunities as to, and so they're clearing out in terms of demand. I know in South Africa now there's load sharing. They're only just beginning the journey of power issues, and I don't know if they also have what Kenya has in terms of different sources of power. Is there anybody that would like to share from Southern Africa? Hello, anybody from SA that wants to share, or bots, or somewhere that wants to share in terms of the opportunities that we have on clean tech there, or the experiences that you're going through with the load sharing?
Hi, Yemi.
Yes, hi.
This is
Hi, David.
David from
Yes.
Zambia.
Yeah, hi, David.
Yeah, in my experience, well, Zambia is surrounded by 8 neighbors. We have no coast, so we look we border countries that have almost no power most of the time, and we're one of those that has an abundance of it. I think our biggest issue has been, for sure, number one is getting into the rural areas. That's definitely our biggest challenge. And also one of our biggest ones is having enough power to give some to our neighbors.
Okay.
We're very close to South Africa, which is going through quite an energy crisis right now.
Yeah.
But we haven't been able to generate enough power to give them, because we also have Zimbabwe, which is going through a bit of a crisis, and we share the Kariba Dam, which generates power for both countries. So I think one of the things we're really looking at is seeing how we can generate power here locally, and then have a way to send it to our neighbors. That's one of the biggest challenges, especially my startup Astanah has been looking into recently.
Okay. And so you know you have a large consumer market within those other countries.
For sure.
Great,
I mean,
great.
Congo, sure, definitely Congo, Malawi, Zimbabwe, most immediately need energy.
Yeah, and are you going the solar route, or what's your startup doing?
My startup recycles lithium, reuses and recycles lithium batteries. That's
so you
our
understand you understand what Chris is talking about, storage.
Yes, very much so. We do lithium, and we're also looking at gravity storage. So I have a big interest in storage, definitely, but I also like the idea of generation, because you need to store what you're generating.
Thanks for sharing, David. Carol.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm sorry, I don't know why my camera is not working.
It's okay. It's fine.
Happy to join this very important webinar, and thank you for having it. I'm just going to second. I believe it was Chris. Yes. Regarding Kenya, of course, there are a lot of things happening in Kenya, but maybe I can highlight a bit on bioenergy. There's a lot of
Yeah.
innovation in Kenya, and I believe that there's room for more development and more startups in bioenergy. Like I'm aware of a project of producing bioethanol in order to replace cook stoves, traditional cook
Oh, wow.
stoves. Yes. So this is just an example. But maybe, as I mentioned, I am originally from Central Africa, precisely from Cameroon. And we are facing a lot of challenges, power challenges, both in urban areas and in rural areas. So there are a lot of projects, a lot of startups that are trying to solve those power issues, even though we are a country where most of our power is from hydro. It's hydropower. And also we are noticing some startups trying to resolve all problems related to energy efficiency. So I believe that there's room for solar, a lot of room for solar energy in Central Africa in general, and particularly in Cameroon, and also energy efficiency.
Thanks for Carol to share. I just wanted us to, look at diverse areas. That's so that we understand as a thematic network the kind of opportunities we have around the continent. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. We've only discussed, only 3 people have set examples, and there are 3 different examples. So that there is the opportunity within the continent for us. And it's I mean, we're hearing bio now, we're hearing storage, we're hearing generation, and that is for really energy alone. And then there is the vertical for waste and transportation and all of those things. So that we understand that there is a high demand. And the other opportunity is that a lot of donor agencies, a lot of governments are trying to support startups that are within this area. And I mean, Jeffrey mentioned AFDB and UNEDO. I do know that Bill and Melinda Gates is also looking at the clean energy area and so many others. And so the grants that are coming for our startups to be able to take off is increasing. And because of that, they are able to get to their MVP faster than what another startup in fintech or manufacturing would be doing in their seed stage. And so the opportunity is there for us, although they face other issues which are really support issues around digital infrastructure, the skills gap that exists, and in terms of scaling, they also need all of that business support service that will need to help them to scale. Next slide, please. Okay. As we grow this network, we wanted to understand how many people are willing to lead deals in clean technology and or co-invest with someone who is more experienced. And we wanted, to take a poll so that we know where the strength of our network is going to lie and where we would need additional support. So I would like also take the poll so that we can assess with this data set what we need to start preparing for in order to support this network. So if you could just use a minute or so to respond to the poll. I hope the poll is showing on your screens.
Yes, we can see the polls.
Yes, I'd like everyone to just contribute so that we can jointly know where we would need support as we develop this network.
All right, so June, you can go ahead and present the results from the poll. I think everyone has been able to answer.
Everybody, yeah. Okay, co-invest with some more experience. Okay, and then lead. This is good. So at least we know we have people that can help lead a deal, and then we have interest in investments with more experienced hands. So at least we would de-risk, the kind of investments that we're doing. So thank you very much for that. The other thing, we always say that when we're investing, we invest in entrepreneurs first and foremost before we invest in the deal, or it's how, because it looks like it's going to be a long-term marriage kind of thing, 3 to 7 years, 10 years. And so you want to know whether your values align. You want to understand whether this is a Me Too kind of investment. We also want to know whether there is really a need. They have a value proposition and they understand the market they're in. And we wanted to, see whether assessing the character of entrepreneurs, the importance of that to you, and how you go about assessing the character of founders. I get that question a lot from people, because even your husband or your wife, you're not able to know them through and through, even if you're dating for like 4 or 5 years. By the time you start living together, you know that the certain characteristics will start coming out based on the situation and everything. And so people always ask, when you say you want to invest in a founder, how do you assess the character of your founder before you invest in such a short period of time? I don't know if there anybody that would like to share. Let's just hear from one person. I don't know who's investing in what, but if you can just Carol, yes, just how do you assess? Just to share.
I believe due diligence is very important, because you cannot you have a very short time in order to have an idea. Most of the time, we say that women, we rely on our intuition, but you need more. And I believe it's very important to do a minimum of
it's very key, but there are times you do due diligence, and money is a different entity on its own. I like to say that because sometimes you get that once a founder has access to funds, they sort of change in terms of tone, they sort of change in terms of characteristics, and of course we all know on the continent what is going on of the fraudulent things that are occurring. But more importantly, after you founder, Femi, please go ahead.
All right, thank you so much. Yemi, I don't know if you can hear me. If I'm audible. Okay, fantastic. I'm actually one of those people that believe and an advocate of you invest in the founder as against you investing in the idea. Sometimes we see scenario where ideas are fantastic, superb ideas, meet the market needs, solve societal problem, but because the executor or the founder, who is at the forefront driving the business, does not have the right character, hence the entire fund goes down the drain. I've also seen scenario where you have the right kind of founder, even though the idea might not be superb, is still trying to tailor the idea to the market's need, and it's still very malleable. And at the end, we find out that the result speaks for itself. You eventually got a business who is making impact and who is making revenue. However, how they started was not how they ended, actually, but because of the knowledge and experience of the founder, things went well for the investor. So for me, two critical thing in terms of assessing the character of the founder. I look at what the character of the founder is in terms of what's his pedigree, what's his experience, has he gone through that journey before? Because being a founder, especially in the African landscape, is not an easy task. Several things are going against starting up your business, sometimes regulations, even though you must ensure your business is always in line with regulation. Sometimes it might be power, sometimes it might be human resource. Several things fight against the success of a business, especially at a startup stage. So you look at what is the experience of this founder? Has he gone through that path before? If he has gone through it and is successful, super, a good one for you. If he has gone through it and he failed, also super. It means that he knows what to do not to fail again. He knows a step he has carried before that made him to fail, and he won't repeat such a step again. So that is what the second bit I look out for is the industry knowledge. What is the extent of knowledge that founder has with respect to that particular industry? What is the leadership skill of that particular founder, and what is his ability to execute? Key one for me is that industry knowledge. The other one in terms of leadership skill, and ability to execute is key. Leadership skill, managerial skill, you can build into a founder once you identify that this founder lacks skill in this particular area.
Yeah. So you have underscored the fact that what Carol said, we need to do some level of due diligence in understanding really the founder and whether it aligns with us and what we want. In 2017, when I started Rising Tide Africa, I met a group of women, young girls. There was one that did supporting the taking the healthcare. So she was taking healthcare to the home. There was one that was looking at sorting out transportation within the industry. There was one that was looking at creating educational applications, and for me they were too young. They were not seasoned enough for them to be able to even run the businesses that they're running. They didn't have the experience. They didn't have the structural experience. Neither did they have business acumen. And so after the mentoring session, I told them that they needed to have more experience. And, but 4 years later, one of them, next slide, please. One of them came back and the other two fell off the grid. Their businesses went down, of course. And one of them came back to us at Rising Tide. And I could see the level of maturity in 2017-18. She was like, but when she came back, I could see that she had understood that it wasn't an easy path. She understood also what the rigors it takes to run a business, and she had been burned. And next slide. And so we decided to take a look at her. The company's name is Shotlers. And what they did, because of the traffic in Nigeria, was they provided buses that you could book through their application. Just download the application, book their buses, and book a ride, maybe company ride. Now they provide. They've taken the issue scaled. They started off, go to the next slide. So they started off and started expanding what it's meant for their focus. Next slide, please. But this is the application. It's very simple. Download and then you book your trip. You can track your trip. Next slide. What they started was to provide buses to ease transportation. The strategy evolved and they started expanding their routes, expanding the ride penetration, So obviously before it was along the highways, but now they then go into different areas. They increase the number of buses from 70 in 2020. In 2021, they got 100 buses. And now they have now, with all of the issues around carbon, they are now focusing on decarbonizing African mobility by phasing out unclean vehicles. I don't know how it was in other countries, but we used to have these secondhand vehicles come into the country, and by the time they throttle, the amount of emission of carbon dioxide that comes from those vehicles, and everything was getting polluted. And of course, they're always with the mechanics. But that was one of the other aims for her, to be able to address the issues of secondhand vehicles. Everybody trying to get their children to school and everybody trying to have a car. Now the concept has started to change, in which you do not have, and with the millennials and Gen Zs now becoming workers in different industries, the concept of having a car has now changed, because there is this transportation between Uber, Bolt, and shuttlers. You could get yourself from point A to B, and she has increased, and she has now started attracting investments. And so for us at Rising Tide, we thought that it was an apt time for us to be able to put in, before they needed a pre-series A investment, and we invested 44,000 euros in July last year. It has strengthened their working capital and expanded them to have more routes, and also they have now been able to access a facility line from Access Bank for their buses, and a technical partner to maintain all of these buses. They have, at the end of this year, they intend to have about 1,300 buses, and of course they are computing. Next slide. They're computing their carbon amount of carbon that is saved, and they're getting credits for that. I just wanted to share also, this case study, because when we look at entrepreneurs, we have to be able to make a good judgment call as to the point in time that you need to invest in that entrepreneur. We kept them on our radar, but she was the only one that was able to survive the terrain of entrepreneur and the entrepreneurial journey, and now she's doing well. She's doing her Series A, and at the time in 2018, we're not talking about carbon credits and carbon footprints, but then she is in the right industry to be looking at the CO2 reduction based on the number of vehicles that she's keeping, that is the cars that she's keeping off the roads by putting on her buses. I think that's the end of my own time, and I hope that you have been able to enjoy what we have done so far. And so I hand over to Jeffrey and June, who are going to then take on the venture showcase. Thank you very much for sharing your time with us and your experiences.
I really enjoyed your session. More, can you hear us, and are you with us?
Yes, Jeffrey, I can hear you. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Amimo, and I will be taking you through the second part of the workshop, which is the Venture Showcase. So in this session, we'll have two startups pitching to the investors present today. And to start us off today will be David from Lusaka, Zambia, who will be representing Astanah. David, please take the lead in presenting this.
Thank you so much, Amimo. I hope you have my latest version of the slides, but if not, it's okay. I'll use what you have. Good morning. Well, depending on where you are, good afternoon or good evening. Thank you for joining us today. I'm delighted to introduce you to Astanah, a pioneering company dedicated to the recycling and reusing of lithium batteries for renewable energy solutions. Next slide. At Astanah, we are on a mission to lead the sustainable energy revolution in Zambia by providing cheap, reliable, and environmentally friendly energy solutions. Our vision is to revolutionize the renewable energy landscape through the recycling and reusing of lithium batteries and e-waste, ensuring affordable and sustainable energy for all. Next slide. So let's delve into the problem we aim to solve. First of all, the escalating e-waste pollution and the need for accessible, cost-effective clean energy are urgent challenges. With the advancement of technology, the rise of EVs, there's a growing demand for energy. However, marginalized communities and middle-income communities still face limited access to clean and affordable energy. Our goal at Astanah is to bridge these gaps by recycling and reusing lithium batteries, leveraging clean energy sources like solar power and wind, and making affordable energy solutions accessible to all. Next slide. So Astanah's solution lies in the recycling and reusing of e-waste to develop energy generation and storage systems. By leveraging the low cost of recycling and reusing, we provide affordable, reliable, and clean energy for residential, commercial, industrial, and marginalized communities. Our approach not only has a positive impact on the environment through continuous research and development in the battery and EV industries. Additionally, we integrate AI systems to increase productivity and ensure efficient operations. Next slide. The market opportunity for renewable energy solutions is rising, driven by the growing demand for clean energy. We have identified a significant market potential, especially in Southern Africa, for our products and services, particularly with the emerging EV transition. And currently, there is limited availability of recycling and reusing of e-waste and lithium, giving Astanah a strategic position in the market. Next slide. Our value proposition is rooted in meeting customers' wants, needs, and addressing their fears. We offer recycling and reusing e-waste initiatives, providing lightweight and compact portable power solutions, seamless home integrations, and intelligent battery management systems. The Astanah experience empowers customers with reliable, convenient, and hassle-free energy solutions while promoting environmental consciousness. Next slide. In terms of competition, we face both direct and indirect competitors. Our direct competitors being other renewable energy companies in Zambia who mainly focus on generation from solar and hydro, which could compete with Astanah's offerings. Indirect competitors are fossil fuel-based traditional energy suppliers who offer conventional energy options but with different environmental impacts. Next slide. Next slide again. So Astanah operates strategic partnerships with key organizations, some of these being the Zambia Business Angels Network, the Zambia National Commercial Bank, and the government of Zambia, providing valuable support and resources. Our battery technology expertise keeps us at the forefront, and our manufacturing capabilities deliver high-quality energy systems. We serve residential, commercial, industrial, marginalized, and environmentally conscious customers. And our sales channels include direct sales, online platforms, partnerships with renewable energy retailers, and collaborations with government and NGO projects. Our revenue streams come from recycling and new lithium batteries, portable power supplies, energy generation and storage systems, which help us diversify our offerings. Astanah's robust business model ensures success in the renewable energy sector, driving positive change and meeting customer needs and contributing to a sustainable future. Next slide. So a brief look at our traction and achievements. In 2022, we managed to recycle over a ton of lithium batteries, which was a milestone we had set for ourselves. We have received a $50,000 commitment from the Zambia Business Angels Networks, scheduled to be completed by the end of the month. We are also talking to a funding partner called Prospero. We're currently in the due diligence phase, And we are speaking to banks such as the Zambia National Commercial Bank on partnerships so that we can offer some of our products on credit. Our revenue has experienced significant growth, increasing over 300% in the last 4 quarters, which can be attributed to the energy crisis that has been seen in Southern Africa. Next slide. Our growth strategy revolves around scaling operations and reach through strategic collaborations, including rentals, pay-go systems, and credit services to make our products more accessible.
Yeah, David, sorry, just to note, you have 3 minutes more.
No problem. Next slide. So here's a brief snapshot of our KPIs, our key performance indicators, which show our growth over the last quarter, especially in our revenue and net margin. Next slide, you also see some of our financials. Sorry, could you, next slide? These are our financials over the last 4 quarters, which show growth in our company. Next slide. So Astanah boasts a strong team of experienced, a strong management team. I, David Tiongi, am the technical lead and co-founder. I bring my engineering experience and expertise in renewable energy technologies and AI integration. I'm a mechanical and renewable energy engineer. Salvina Poppe, our logistics expert and co-founder, has a proven track record of optimizing supply chain operations. And Wamba Chibulo, our finance professional, excels in finance, budgeting, compliance, and accounting. Next slide. Our advisory team consists of highly respected professionals in the energy and finance sectors. The first is Michael Tani, who is the lead investor from Zambia Business Angels Network. He is also energy lead at Cities for Growth in Zambia and has a strong background in energy, corporate development, finance, and audit. We also have Chitema Kapaya, who's vice president of corporate finance at Stanbic Zambia. And she brings over 15 years of international banking experience. And finally, we have Mitra Kaimbangambi, CEO of MTN Cameroon. She's a seasoned executive in the telecommunications industry. Next slide. The scaling phase includes increasing manufacturing capacity to meet demand, expanding distribution channels, and targeting new customer segments. We will also identify new markets within and outside Zambia, while we continue to collaborate with government agencies and NGOs to promote clean energy adoption. And we continuously invest in research and development to enhance our battery technology. Next slide. So our current funding goal is $200,000. This will allow us to expand production capacity, increase our marketing efforts to enter new markets, and continue research and development to improve our product offerings. The fund will also support the talent acquisition and training to ensure that we have skilled professionals within the organization. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you for your time and attention. Astanah is always ready to lead the sustainable energy revolution in Zambia and Southern Africa. We look forward to partnering with you on this journey towards a greener and more sustainable future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David, for your presentation. So the floor is open for questions. We'll allocate 7 minutes for people who have questions to ask David about the presentation you just made.
I'm so sorry. I did notice that I was actually blocking my camera with that. Sorry.
It's okay. So anyone who has questions, the floor is open. You have 7 minutes for this slot.
So, David, a quick question from my end. What's the plan to scale the startup, let's say region-wise, for the whole of East Africa? I mean, Southern Africa, sorry. For the whole of Southern Africa first.
Okay, so for Southern Africa, we're mainly looking at exporting some of our products, specifically our batteries. So we do manufacture our own batteries in Zambia, and we have recognized there is a need for them outside the country. A lot of them are imported from China and there's delays with that, it could take 3 or more months. So because we do manufacture locally, the first step is to get our batteries out there. After that, we're looking at gating what we have in Zambia, which is having people on payment plans, kind of similar to pay-go systems. But we do have an MOU that was signed with Zanaco so that civil servants, for example, could pay overtime to the bank, and we would be able to provide them with the system. So those are some of the things that we're looking at to expand outside Zambia in the short to medium term.
Sure, that sounds good. I think he has a question. Yes.
Yes, I wanted to understand in terms of your revenue model. You have different sources of revenue in your model, and you said your growth was attributable to the energy challenges that is occurring in Southern Africa at the moment. So, what is driving your revenue? Is it the sale of the batteries to other locations or within Zambia? Is it what vertical is driving it, and whether if the issues are resolved in Southern Africa, would it affect you adversely? That's kind of
Okay. I think the first thing to note is our primary revenue source of revenue is the sale of lithium batteries. But that could take different forms. So that could be solar home systems, that could be portable power supplies, that could be car batteries, that could be systems that are in rural areas, for example. So it does take different forms. The main thing is at the end of the day, we're able to store and give out the energy depending on who our customers are at any given time. I think it's easier for us than most of our competitors because we actually manufacture these systems locally, especially our battery systems. So if we are doing a rural drive, if we're going to rural areas, we can target specifically those areas and build things specifically to what they need. Not too long ago, Zambia, because we do a lot of hydroelectricity, because of the climate and climate change, our water levels were low in the dam. So it led to a lot of load shedding, especially in Zambia, which naturally drove up demand for our batteries because our competitors had to get them from China, which would take 3 to 6 months because you can't fly them. So that really worked in our favor. We had a lot of people asking us for our products, and we got the same response from South Africa with the load shedding they have there. So those are the main drivers of revenue for us.
So all your resources, all your parts or how you build your batteries, are they all local sources of everything is local?
So we have the main thing is the batteries. There's 2 ways we get our batteries. One is through recycling, which is our biggest thing. So we get them from dump sites, from CBDs, wherever we can source. They're quite abundant, actually. Sometimes we export whatever it is, and then we refurbish or recycle, recondition them, and resell. Alternatively, we do get EV batteries from abroad, and we also recondition, recycle, and then resell those. So our costs are very low because naturally we're recycling these batteries. So it also makes it very competitive for us.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Just a bit of clarity from my end. I understand well now your revenue drivers, but I will need you to be specific so that I can have the numbers. Now, in terms of traction, with respect to revenue, how much are you making now, or how much did you make in the last 2 months? I need specific. That is one. Secondly, I'm also happy that you have on your advisory board someone from the telco, and you also talked about your payment plan with respect to driving your business. So let me just give me a bit of clarity in terms of how you onboard your instant, or do you have a spread payment where typically this is what I tell my ventures. You can pay to play, you can pay to join a different model in terms of payment. Do you collect complete payment from your vendors or from your customers rather, or they pay and spread it over a period of time using the bank as a means of guaranteeing your fund? Or do you have a strategy where you also want to leverage on 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 technology payment to be able to drive payments seamlessly and easily? That is the second. And the third one, which is very crucial for me, is what's your valuation as of today? You are looking at 200,000 US dollar fund, and you've gotten a commitment of, I think, 50,000 or so, if I get you correctly, from the Angel Network in your country. So, what's the current valuation that you have? And we'll just want to connect it with the fund you are receiving. Thank you.
Okay. The line was a bit bad at the middle, but I'll try answer as best I can. So the last quarter, we're able to generate in revenue just over $9,000, which was about a almost 300% increase from the previous quarter. That naturally would be attributed, like I mentioned earlier, to the load shedding crisis we had locally. So we expect this quarter to make just slightly less, about just over $7,000 as we continue to grow. In response to your second question, previously we were selling our products as cash before we started a credit model. We still, unfortunately, in Zambia, we're still cash based. We don't offer a lot of credit. This is why I mentioned in the slides that we're actually speaking or in the final stages of a partnership with the Zambia National Commercial Bank, which will allow users to get what they call solar loans. That would mean they would pay to the bank over time, and then the bank, once they sign the contract, would remit the full amount to us, or 80%, depending on the outcome of negotiations. We also have pay-go systems. We have pay-go systems with a company in Kenya called Angaza. They provide the framework for our pay-go systems. Those are the ones that we usually send to rural areas. But these systems, we still put in our own batteries, so it's still cheaper for us, because usually the more expensive part of these systems is the batteries inside rather than the shell that encloses them. I hope I've answered all your questions. I may have missed something. Please feel free to let me know if I did.
Okay, just in terms of valuation, what's your valuation as of today?
So our primary activities in our value chain, first of all, our operations, we do convert our own raw materials into our products. So that's very important for us, being able to recycle the batteries ourselves and then being able to sell. We are currently looking at pushing our market. I think the biggest push we need right now is our marketing. We're struggling with our marketing and sales. That's because we had a very small team. So that's something we're working on, especially that's one of the reasons we need the funding is very much for marketing. And then finally, we have been struggling with our lead times. So I mentioned one of the legs of our recycling, one of the legs of our battery manufacturing is recycling EV batteries. It's actually quite important for us because they come in large quantities. Unfortunately, because we're still small, we can't order these batteries in bulk, and they take 3 months to arrive. So between the time they arrive and are sold, we don't have a lot of time to between the time these batteries arrive and we're able to sell them, there's a bit of a lead time that we're trying to address. I was just seeing a question for Solomon Ngoma. I don't know if it's related to the question I'm answering. Maybe Solomon, you could clarify that for me. I may be answering the wrong question.
Yeah, David, so the last question that was asked was on the valuation of the startup, right? So
okay, the current valuation. The current valuation was $1 million. These are actually my colleagues from the Zambia Business Angels Network. So it was at $1 million, which is part of the negotiations for the funding from the Zambia Business Angels Network.
All right, that sounds great. That sounds great. Sadly, we're out of time for your startup today, but we'll let you know if other investors have any additional questions or are interested in having follow-on conversations with you. So
okay.
Thank you once again, David, for joining in. Amimo, you can take over from here.
Okay. Thank you very much, David, again for your presentation. So the next startup will be Tile Green from Egypt, represented by Amir. Please note that you have only 7 minutes to take us through the same, and the floor will be open for angels to ask questions, and 7 minutes will be allocated for this session as well.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for being here. I'm Amr Shalan, CEO and co-founder of Tile Green. Before we start, it's important to note the mission of Tile Green, why we are here and what we are doing. And our mission is to literally build sustainable communities through offering carbon negative premium building materials from low value plastic waste, solving both problems. So at the beginning, we have 2 problems and 2 opportunities to look at. Next slide. The first is plastic waste. We already know the problem of plastic waste and the issue of having too many pollutions of plastic waste, but I'm sorry for the this it's not organized. I think something happened when I sent it. I'm sorry for this, but I try to make it up in the presentation. So the global recycling rate is low and we already know the problem. However, what's behind this is the absence of solution to recycle low value and unrecyclable plastic waste. And this is the main reason behind the pollution, and this is the main reason behind the numbers, and it's not the lack of funding at all. Next slide. And the other problem is the construction industry, which is already the most polluting industry worldwide. At Tile Green, we believe that this industry is severely lacking a building material that achieves the golden formula of being green, highly performing, affordable, and scalable. And this is a huge barrier for this industry to go green. Next slide. Tile Greens comes in the middle between both to solve both problems by using this low value and the unrecyclable plastic waste into highly performing carbon negative building materials using 0% cement in a nearly emission-free process. And at the end of the day, the products are also recyclable. Next slide. Digging deeper into the technology, not only it recycles all types of low value and unrecyclable plastic waste, this patent pending technology can produce more than 40 types of building products, and we are currently producing and starting to commercialize one of the products, which is interlocking pavement tiles. Next slide. In addition to the product being compliant with the needed standards, the product is already surpassing the needed specifications regarding weather resistance, regarding abrasion, regarding strength, which means higher durability and higher efficiency at the same market price. And the product is also certified according to American and European standard. Next slide. Not only the technology saves the environment of low value plastic waste, saves the environment a huge amount of carbon emissions and water by replacing normal concrete products. Next slide. At the end, the value proposition that this technology offers to the market is 2 things. On one side, offering the construction market environmentally friendly, economic, and a highly performing solution, and on the other side, offering the government or the community contribution to circular economy and the green building materials agenda. Next slide. At the beginning, we are targeting the cement tiles market size in Egypt, which is estimated to be around $1 billion. and globally $55 billion. However, with only like 4 products in the pipeline that we are already developing, we will be tapping into, and of course, new business models. We'll be tapping into a larger market size globally, which is accessed through 4 customer segments as shown in the slides. Next slide. Our journey started like around 1.5 years ago. It started with raising the initial funding, getting the initial pilot facility. Last year, we focused more on process optimization and getting this idea of eliminating the plastic waste and making green building materials into a scalable production process. And of course, and most importantly, validating the market need for this. Next slide. We started last year with piloting different projects with real estate developers and multinational companies, and it was very successful. They were all paid projects, small paid projects. And this year, when we started having a stable production from the initial pilot line that we built with minimal funding, we got requests from customers with values of like hundreds of thousands of dollars, even from small samples. Next slide. These are actually photos from real projects, and as you can see, customers saw an opportunity in using the unique colors of the product to represent their brands and represent their direction towards adopting sustainable practices. Next slide. In the past year, we have been through multiple programs which supported us through our journey, and last one was EBRD program and grant from European Union through MCT program, as well as other programs, incubators, either or awards. Next slide. And in the past 2 or 3 months, we were privileged to being featured among esteemed global magazines such as Forbes and Reuters, and this gave us validation. The story picked up organically, which means the world needs what we are offering. The world needs immediate solution for this crisis and immediate solution to build. We don't need to destroy the environment in order to build more cities. Next slide. In the past period, we have validated the product, we have validated the technology. The next phase is to invest more in tech automation and upgrading the technology in order to be adopting in the future licensing and operation with loyalty model for expansion. Our vision is to operate in 5 countries across MENA region and Africa with at least 5 products. And this starts this year with having an upgraded version of the technology that we are using. And of course, this year, after the last media exposure, we got many requests from more than 15 countries to start piloting with them. However, we'll be very careful with our resources and with our next steps in order to make the maximum out of our journey. Next slide. As we always say, the team is everything. And at Tile Green, we measure it by experience in 1 year, not just years of experience. In addition to our years of experience in different industries, such as waste management, plastic recycling, and mechanical engineering, we have done all of this, raising the initial funding, going through technology development and reaching product market fit in just 1 year, which is on average 4 or 5x faster than any other company in the field or similar fields of the hard tech and developing building materials. Thanks also to our advisors and investors who choose not to only invest their money, but their time and effort with us. Next slide. Next slide, please. That's it for try to make it short. Regarding fundraising, we have raised previously 2 rounds of investment, pre-seed and a bridge round, and we actually in this month we are closing another bridge round. We have 2 texts left, and I'm sorry I couldn't add it because it was sent earlier and it happens to be something in the format, but it's okay. We are currently closing a bridge round, which will be used more to develop the technology and to gain more customers to prepare for the next expansion. And I prefer to leave time for the esteemed members of this workshop to have a further discussion. Happy to hear your questions. Thank you. Any questions regarding any areas of the presentation?
If we're allowed to go ahead, I'll ask a question, if that's okay.
Yes.
So that's great. Thank you very much for the presentation. So just 3 very quick questions. One was with regards to you in particular. I know you said that your team have a lot of experience in waste management and in building, but I wanted to know what your particular experience and what your previous jobs have been, how you got into the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Number two was with regards to pricing. I noticed that you said the materials that you produce are at average price. I don't know if you have a comparison with the regular interlocking paving stones or regular pipeline products, just to a high level understanding of how you compete in the market, in addition to what you have. And then 3 was with regards to the round you just mentioned. What are you raising the bridge round? What valuation are you raising at, and how much are you raising?
Thank you very much for your questions. First, regarding the experience, myself, I have a technical background in material science, but extensive experience in business development in multiple industries such as waste management and real estate management and startup management. I work as a business developer responsible for initiating projects around the country and outside Egypt and the waste management sectors, as well as other members of the team was responsible for the production of factories regarding plastic recycling. So this is one thing regarding the experience of the founders. It's mainly spanning across waste management, business development, mechanical engineering, and the plastic recycling. This is one thing. The second is the pricing. The average price for interlocking tiles in Egypt is around $4. Across the MENA region, it's from $6 to $8. In Europe, it's around from $18 to $22. And even we are selling at average market pricing, which is the lowest globally, $4. We are making a good case and unit economics regarding raw materials, even we are paying for it. Regarding other product, I don't have the analysis for the full products yet. However, all what I can say is that it's a formula for building materials that we see the opportunity like this. We have 3 parts: the environmental, the functional, and the economic. And in order to penetrate this market, because if we are looking forward to revolutionize this industry, we cannot offer at a premium price because very few will be willing to pay for this. We can get premium through carbon credits, plastic credits, but we can charge customers a premium for this if we really want to solve this problem at a bigger scale. And this is what we are doing, and this is our intentions at the beginning, and it shows in all aspects of our developments, starting from sourcing the lowest value and the lowest and the cheapest plastic waste. So this is regarding the price. It's $4, and it's average here in Egypt, and it's the lowest across MENA region and lower than Europe and other places. The third question is related to the bridge round. We started the bridge round 1.5 and 2 months or 2 months ago, raising 100K. Not on a valuation, it's safe notes on a valuation cap, 3.5 million, discount rate 75%. And the goals for the bridge round, which of course I will be happy to get in touch after for more information. I'm sorry for the presentation, but the format was like some slides were missed, but we can make up for this. The goals of the bridge round is to first of all invest more in developing the next phase of the technology, because this technology is pretty new and scaling it up is not easy. So we already have the plan to scale this up and make it scalable across not just Egypt but across the world. So the phase 1 will be the implementation of the designs and the concept itself, which the money from the bridge round portion of it, 30% will be used for this, and 70% as runway for operations, which will be used also to upgrade some manufacturing parameters. I know the story is different from like in clean tech. Mainly it's not like similar to e-commerce or digital platforms, because the parameters are different. So our parameters here regarding the development is the technology KPI itself. And this can be very technical sometime, but in our case here, it's simple. Our next version of the technology will be like in very simple terms. We will reduce the cycle time of production so that we can reduce the cost per unit to make it more scalable with less labor. And it's just as simple as that. We already checked multiple boxes regarding recycling all types of plastic waste. Every single type of plastic waste, we can recycle it. So and the product, customers already like the product and they have been requesting it, and we have had over demand we can't fulfill. So the only like missing piece to complete the business case to like what we call it exponential growth or something, it's to have the final piece of the Lego in the right place, which is having the right technology, which we already started doing. Regarding the bridge round, we closed 70% of the round, and we have one or two remaining tickets. I hope I answered your questions. If not, please feel free to follow up.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Do we have a final question for Amir before we can close off?
Okay, just a question from me. Thanks so much, Amma. Lovely initiative. Well done to you and the team. Just one question from me. I know the product that you've used it for paved stones.
Yes.
And you also talked during the course of your presentation that you've used it for buildings or structures. I'm more passionate about the structures. Have you used it for a structure that have lasted for 4 years or 5 years? Even if yours is not, maybe you can tell me from your experience, because plastic degrades. Plastic degrades, irrespective of whatever you put in it. It will degrade over time.
Yes.
So when you use it for paved stone, fantastic. But when you use it for buildings, which is we are passionate about, if it degrades, it means that the building will degrade and it will collapse. So can you shed more light for me if you've used it for a period more than 5 years for structures? How is that structure doing? What's the structural integrity like? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And this is very like interesting point for us because there is something regarding your question of other use cases of the product. Even if not us, one of the researchers I know worked on did some prototypes around 8 years ago, and he installed it in a very well-known university in Egypt, and it has been there for 8 or 9 years so far, and it's working perfectly fine. This is regarding for more than 1 year inside Nestle factories in the hygiene room, which is facing high loads of pressure and hot oils and hot water, and it's withstanding these high temperature and harsh conditions. So this is regarding the durability of the pavement tiles, not building blocks inside the buildings. Because when we decided to start, we wanted to take a product to the mass level, not just a niche level. So regarding products inside, we didn't use it inside the building as building a block of building a wall or having a complete building, because this will require different certification. This is why we are considering it a pilot yet product, because we will need to work on multiple areas. What you mentioned is one area. However, an argument for this is that the competitive strength for the material that we develop is almost from 5 to 15 times higher than what's needed in building walls. But you are talking about the durability, which is related to sun exposure and heat. We already treated this by adding anti-UV materials in our pavement tiles because they are exposed to sun. However, for internal materials, they are not exposed that much. So this area will not be of concern. But the area that will be of concern, which is fire resistance, because different building materials have different codes, which requires different certifications. For the outdoors, we successfully treated the material to withstand temperatures up to 150 Celsius. However, inside buildings, you need to have a higher temperature. So this is why we consider the part of having building blocks to be used inside the building is still not a complete case, because if we want to roll this out, we will roll it out on a massive scale addressing all these problems. But again, back to your questions regarding the durability. The current product, according to the measures of strength, abrasion, heat, and so on, it's much more durable than normal products with at least 5 or 10 times in terms of strength and durability. For internal ones, we cannot claim that we are already integrating it yet due to the reasons I mentioned. We are still working on this, and the rolling out of new products, it will not be like less than 1 year from now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I know the slides were not indicative of the related to the funding round, but however, aside from the funding, aside from this, I would be happy to connect with members here in the workshop. The area is relatively new and it's still a new market. Actually, in the whole world, the area of green building materials from waste, very few companies. So a collaboration is highly needed, not just for the investments there, but I mean in terms of insights and in terms of co-development of this. So I will be happy to take it forward with anyone, and I will be in Viva Tech in Paris. So if anyone is there and want to grab a coffee, please just drop me a message and let's meet up. Thank you.
All right, Amir, thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you with us this evening.
Thank you.
So both Amir and David will get back to you if we have interest from other investors on the call or in our wider network for your startups, and we'll keep you connected. So once again, everyone, thank you for joining us this evening, and thank you for being a part of the Clean Technology Investor Workshop. Do have a nice day.